I come from an art school background, and I was studying graphic design, and I had a friend who asked me, could I do him a big favour? He was supposed to be working on a short film, a student film. He couldn't do it. He said, can you cover for me? I'd never worked on a film before, never really shown that much interest actually in filmmaking. But I just went along with a mate to help out, and we were runners essentially on a short film, a student film, and it was raining, it was cold, we were in a muddy wood, but there was just something about being a part of the crew and lugging these metal boxes around, putting up gels, holding a microphone. It was just really, it felt really exciting. It felt like something I'd never been a part of. It felt like joining the circus, I think is what it felt like. And I just thought, I think I'm up for it. I'm going to run away with the circus. And that was it. I think I was very young, I was 17 odd years old. And I just continued. That film led to another film, which led to another film. And I essentially worked on a cruise for films for years. And it was only on the side with my friends I started to make short films. In terms of storytelling, I'm attracted to, I would have to say, outsiders. I think there's a recurring theme in a lot of the films that I've made. I'm interested in people who often are you know, the kind of the bad person or the bad guy, the person who's not really liked or is somehow fighting against a more powerful system. And it's not a conscious thing, but I do find after the films have been made, they often have a theme running through them. So The Warrior is about this guy who turns away from a corrupt feudal system and, you know, of committing murder and awful things. But by doing that, he's pursued by these people. Far North was a couple of women and a woman and a daughter, kind of on the run from a kind of occupying force. Senna, in a way, was, you know, fighting against a corrupt system. Amy had, you know, the media and, you know, various people who seemed to kind of enjoy her downfall or who were not worried about her. So that just becomes something that I'm interested in. And often, kind of the darker the better. Right now I'm making a film about Diego Maradona. So you can see the theme kind of continues because I've always been interested, I suppose, in the underdog and understanding them and understanding why sometimes they've done bad things in their life. You know about the negative thing, but you don't understand the motivation behind it. The process that I work on depends very much so on the genre and what you're doing and how much time and money you have. You know, sometimes I've made short films where essentially you've got a day to make a film and you just go with it. And other times with Senna, it was nearly 5 years of doing research and finding material and traveling around the world, interviewing people. Amy, we interviewed over 120 people and spent 3 years making it. The Warrior was very much a writing process first, very much a kind of linear, you write the script, you pitch the idea, you raise some money, you research, you scout, shoot the film, cut the film. It depends on the film, but really the interesting thing, someone once said to me, the idea is to have kind of, what is the nugget? What are the 2 or 3 lines of why you love this idea and love this project, and almost to pin it on the wall where you work at home above your desk. So whenever you get lost or confused, to kind of go back to saying, that's why I want to make the film. And if you go too far away from that, somewhere along the way you've got lost, and you've got to try and take it back to that initial idea of why you want to make it. There is an interesting thing of having made lots of films where it was all about the image with very minimal dialogue and going to really extreme places and challenging yourself and making what I was hoping was very visual cinema. What happened with the documentaries was it was the opposite of saying, okay, what if I take away the kind of obsessive control of the image? Can you still make a film? Can you still make a film that emotionally engages and moves you and is visually interesting, but I didn't shoot it? And can you create that type of cinema with something that you are essentially almost working backwards? The material's already out there. You've got to put it together and cut it. So it's really post-heavy, whereas The Warrior and Far North are very much kind of pre-production and shoot-heavy, and you know, it's almost turning it on its head. You know, for me, Senna is a really visual film, and every frame is controlled, and it's the same rules, but it's done in a very different way where I never meet the guy, I never met him. I have to understand his character, understand his journey and his story, and then try and find a way to tell it through images and through the cut. So they're incredibly different, but I think the way you get there is kind of similar. You have to have a vision of what you want. And for me, Senna's a spiritual journey as well. It's about this guy on a particular curve, and I think the reason originally the producers contacted me was because of The Warrior, because they'd liked that element in The Warrior, and the kind of slightly magical realist element in my short films and in The Warrior is there with Senna, with this idea that he has his gift for driving in the rain, and whenever he needs it seems to rain. Now, he believes in God. Now, you may not, but did God help him win certain races? And, you know, that helps him on the way up, and then does it take away his life later on? All of these themes actually reoccur through the work. So I think that's part of it. It's interesting. It's interesting I think, to challenge yourself in different ways. You've got to try and surround yourself with good people who are on a similar journey to you, people who are going to help you and challenge you, but also you want it to be enjoyable. You don't want it to be an uncomfortable experience. Films are so hard. You want to work with people who you are kind of fighting with rather than against. Success factors for key collaborations are people who, I guess it helps if you've got a relationship over a period of time. You work with them, you trust them, they trust you. They may challenge you, you may argue with them, but it's kind of a creative discussion, and you're all kind of wanting to go in the same direction. There are moments when you're leading, you're the director, and you may have to make some difficult decisions and say no to people. But there are other times when you can get a bit lost and you get a bit confused on set and you're not quite sure what you're trying to do or where it's working. It's really good to have the right people around you who come over and say, what about if we do this? What if we start with this today? Because sometimes you just get so mentally exhausted, you can get lost. And so I think it's important to have people that you enjoy working with and who push you to do better, and you can push them. And I think, yeah, it's just what I don't want or like is negative energy around, and that negative energy can kind of grow, become very challenging, and every moment that's there, you're aware of someone there who you're not quite sure about and whether you can trust them, and you don't really want that around. You've got to try and surround yourself with people who are going to work hard, be tough, be honest with you, but essentially work with you. Biggest influences on my career professionally. I mean, there are people who I've kind of never met, who have influenced me from afar. Because, you know, I suppose the film that really made me want to make films were Spike Lee's films, and Do the Right Thing in particular was a real big moment. You know, it was just after I left school, and I remember seeing that movie and thinking, actually, that's the kind of film I would love to make one day. That's the kind of experience I'd be interested in. There are other people like tutors, you know, tutor at university, Tony Grisoni, who's a screenwriter, but at the time was my tutor at film school, and who really was one of the, I suppose, mentors, I would say, you know, coming up, where he was the person when I was first at university and trying to write, who said, I really like this idea, you should develop it, you should work on that. And he gave me the confidence to think I could write, because I think that was a big challenge to take an idea and to have the confidence to share it with a group of people, to discuss it, to take what you find useful and not get offended by something that might be negative. So Tony Grisoni was a big influence, I guess. And then, you know, you have heroes like Scorsese or you know, Zhang Yimou or people like that who I know Scorsese now, luckily, but I don't know Zhang Yimou, but his films, Raise the Red Lantern, Story of Kiju, Judo, all those films were huge influence on the type of cinema that I wanted to make. Initially, when I was younger, I thought I would be an architect. I thought I would go into architecture or graphic design or illustration, something like that, but I don't think I was particularly talented enough to do illustration or graphic design, so architecture. But I actually have always enjoyed teaching. While I enjoy being a student, and while I've been making movies, I've often taught at film schools, and so, you know, if all else fails, I'll become a teacher. The advice to filmmakers starting out today is I think the only way to do it is just to keep making films. Just be making something all the time and complete it. Try and finish that screenplay. Try and give yourself a deadline. Shoot the film, cut the film, get it out to festivals, put it out there, and then start working on the next one. To not essentially get obsessed with one film, because we've all got more than one project in us. So if one film isn't working, then work on another one and try and get that going. And to not be afraid to share it. Do not be afraid to show it to us. Pick carefully. Be quite selective as to who you show your screenplays to, who you show your first cut to. It helps to have a few trusted individuals that you go back to, who are a constant, who understand when to be tough on you and when to be honest and when actually just to be positive and give you confidence, because confidence is a big part of it. But the main thing is to just get into habit of making films, putting them out there and then moving on, and not to worry. If you get a bad reaction to a film, it shouldn't stop you. You have to do it, learn from it and move on to the next one.